Welcome back. Now, like I said before the break, we'll be heading into the discussion segment to speak on issues on the state of the nation, policies by the government, its effect on Nigerians, and also other recent developments in the polity. I've been joined now in the studio by legal practitioner Mr. Samuel Inyeseken Jr. He joins me now to do justice to the matter. Good afternoon and welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon.
It's good to have you back.
Yeah, good afternoon.
All right. So let's start with the event of the day. It is a public holiday. It is Eid al-Adha for the celebration of Eid al-Kabir, and we have that President Tinubu tells Nigerians that our problems are not insurmountable, and says that we should speak on peace and so on. So what's your take about the whole celebration and what do you think can be learnt?
Yes, it's actually it has actually been a bumper period. It's more particularly the opinions being held by people that the administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu will not meet the basic needs of Nigeria. In some aspects, he has done very well. In some aspects, I think it's too early in the day to actually judge him by some steps he has taken. And for him to say that the problems of Nigeria are insurmountable, he shows a little bit of purpose to, I don't want to give them all the credit, a little bit of purpose to tackle numerous problems we have in Nigeria. Also, we should also know that we are brothers keeper in Nigeria, in the spirit of togetherness and oneness, that we are not supposed to do or take some subversive steps like the one being done by our friend Asari Dokubo. Such steps whereby you call out a whole ethnic group and try to downplay them and talk them out and call them slaves and tell them they cannot amount to anything. Things like that should not be tolerated within our present climate. We must embrace a period of national healing after the elections. Cause and reconciliation moves should be made across broad to bring everybody who has contested and see how we can move this country forward.
Right, that's fair enough. Now let's go into the issues of the day. We'll take a look first at the issues of the economy, then we'll move perhaps to security. I'm sure you're aware of the, the president's recent directive for a Naira float, basically removing the CBN rates and just one rate. What do you make of this and the effects that it's having on Nigerians? For instance, the increase in import duties, which is going to increase the price of cars, of all things being imported, and also on the issue of debt. Our debt profile has increased overnight because now we are now using the sort of the rates at the I&E exchange. So what do you make of all of this? And do you think there is
yes, first and foremost, I would say that step taken by the presidency, I think it was taken in a hurry without appropriate and adequate consultation, in the sense that this present administration actually inherited an economy from the previous government that was not uncertain, that was almost in a shame, considering all the bugging allegations being made against the CBN governor. So we don't expect to see a very buoyant economy. I thought what the present administration would have done is to actually have a very sound and good economic team, whereby they see how they can rejig and revive our failing industries and the Nigerian economy itself. But they've made some certain decisions that are actually the brunt of it are being fed by the ordinary people, the citizens, because now I understand that even the pounds is £1 is equivalent to £1. That shows that we're in need of economic solutions.
You mean 1,000 naira?
Just £1 is equivalent to 1,000 naira plus. So it's not a good one. I saw the indices before I came here, and because I also too, when you want to travel out, sometimes it's good to have this little foreign exchange. So I was looking at it and getting it also too. So it's not actually a palatable one. But let's hope that between now and the successive days, as the team they intend to create, the ministers they intend to can find the solutions, but I don't think they can actually immediately find solutions to this problem. And also to some other economic policy. Also to efforts should be made to ascertain and verify and question the last CBN governor to actually know what he has done, because I feel he has contributed in a nutshell to where we find ourselves economically in Nigeria. More importantly, rumors and allegations are being made that from all the reports that there are some missing trillions or missing money from the Nigerian economy. So steps will be taken to also recover those money that are missing. However, I urge the present administration, they should consider a very crack team of seasoned economists and come together a committee and see how they can quickly address this problem Nigeria is actually facing economically.
That's fair enough. I'll just read out, the latest report by the World Bank. It says that Nigeria has one of the highest inflation rates, which pushed an estimated 4 million people into poverty between January and May 2023. Now, what do you make of the fact you've already mentioned that those who are poorer seem to be suffering it more?
Yeah.
Now, something that's caused a little bit of conversation between yesterday and today is the arrival of the president in the country. And I don't know if you've seen the video of the convoy. There were quite a number of cars. And people say, the government should be seen as also making sacrifices as people are making. But then other people argue that even if you reduce it to 4 cars, that the money is not so much that it can, fix the problems that the poor are going through. What's your take on this?
Before this time, in sincerity, I'm not holding brief for the APC. I'm not holding brief. But you see, Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not actually a poor man. Even if he was not a president, he could have afforded those cars. I believe without even applying to the Nigerian Treasury or the finance department or whatever it is, I think those cars you see him actually driving, he can actually, sincerely speaking, me and you know he can actually afford those cars. So that is not the problem. Let's not shift the goalpost from the feed. We have a very dire situation, numerous problems. I think we should focus energy on tackling those problems. And more importantly, in our climate in Africa, if you see the convoy of the president of Ghana, you will be surprised it's more than the one Tinubu is actually. So it's not peculiar to Bola Tinubu alone.
But what can they do to make it look like at least?
One thing with actually trying to give public, trying to live your life to public perception is that you would live at their judgment. So if I don't see the cars actually contributing to our underdevelopment or development. The cars being driven by the president. It has to do with his style and what he wants. And more importantly, he can afford those cars. But I think what should be done is that costs should be saved at governance at all costs. Where they need to, ordinarily they should be driving 6 cars. I think they can drive 2 cars. Where they need to cut the size of their aids and also see how they can bring in PPP, private-public partnership, into in every sectors now in Nigeria. So the question there is costing of cost, not costing or reducing the number of fleets or presidential car be driven by the president. No, that is not the solution.
So what do you have to say about the plans to increase salaries?
I think that is a rumor.
What the presidency says that they did not approve any such increase.
Yes.
But the I forget the name of the agency, the revenue
mobilization. Fiscal.
They have actually started the process to. It might take a while, but the point is that it's in the works for it to happen. It might happen a year from now, whenever. People are wondering, is that the right move during this period? No,
that attempt by the revenue, because they draw their powers from an act and also they are under the regulatory direction and supervision of the Ministry for Finance, so as it is, and other enabling agencies. I don't think that to the extent that which our economy stands now, I don't think that is feasible. Except they want more problems for the ordinary Nigerians and the Nigerian economy. And so that step is actually a draconian, illegal, and is a step made to inflict more hardship. Considering that just 10% of the populace who are actually enjoying that thing they're doing. The way it is now, steps should even be taken to cut down more, a little bit more of the salary emoluments and allowances being enjoyed by political office holders, and not to increase it in a jumbo size. To what extent?
Right. Let me just put to you an argument that has been made for this increase.
Yes.
People have there is a particular story on the grapevine. It is not confirmed.
Yes.
It is just speculation But the former Gavi boss who just resigned, that is from the global organization, former Minister of State, Mr. Pate, Professor Pate actually, he's said to be on the list or shortlist for Minister of Health for Nigeria. And now, you know, as he resigned just a few days ago, people started, you know, placing some numbers side by side. As a Gavi boss, he was earning about over 500 million naira per year, per annum. But if you take it to, you know, a Nigerian minister, assuming what we've been told is the way it is, it should not be, if it's too much, it's not more than 60 million naira per year. So people are making the arguments that if you want the best of minds, the best of technocrats, you want people who have experience world
across
over,
board,
yes, that there is need to at least make the salary and so on look
unattractive.
Attracting, yeah. What do you make of that argument as a means to raise instead of actually decrease?
You know, good technocrats, sound intellectuals, the best minds in any field, they don't come cheap. I want you to have that at the back of your mind. And if we're in a very standard and a very nice society, wherever these people are based, they are without no political affiliations, you want to draw them into Nigeria economic team to bring in their expertise. That means it would have been commensurate with what we have now. But the problem we have, I don't even have a problem with what they are paying these people. If these people have the solutions to our problem. Most of these people are politicians without headway. So because they have no solutions. We need solution providers. I'm actually waiting. I'll be it will be premature for me now to start gauging or start preempting, to start thinking that if it's the same APC, the same officer, the same minister, the same appointed officers under the last administration, that means we don't have hope again.
Under which administration?
The last Mohammed Buhari.
Okay.
They are bringing again. But I think Tinubu will think outside the box.
Yeah, no,
more particularly,
from the Jonathan
yes, more particularly, I must commend his appointment of Nuhu Ribadu, who's now the NSA. I think that is a immediate solution to our security problem. He might not actually achieve so much, but there will be some little slight and considerable change in the way our security apparatus is in Nigeria. Coming to finish up your question, it's that should not be, if the person they are bringing, the pay is commensurate with his standard, and he's going to provide solutions, practicable solutions, the pay should not be a problem. Because you actually, some of these things, if you are not involved in them, they are actually expensive to actually sort for. You need the manpower, you need the expertise, you need to go across broad, you need to seek solutions, you need to bring in your own team, and sometimes you need to pay them from your pocket. I'm talking from my own little experience I've seen, so it's not actually easy. But our problem is these politicians who wants to take the place of technocrats, and they have no solutions to our numerous problems. So those should not be allowed. So the best way is to found round spec in round holes and solve this problem. Get technocrat for these sensitive positions, let them man them, and let them get the best for us. Then the pay, as you say, with the example, can be commensurate.
That's
so that it doesn't lead to wastage.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. You know, this part of this has also caused some controversy within the parties.
Yes.
I was speaking the other day with a strong party member in the APC.
Yes.
And he said that the politicians are starting to sort of quote unquote revolt or fight against the idea that only technocrats can do the job. So they say, we're here, we're getting your votes, we're doing door to door, we're working for you, and when it's time for appointments, you go out there and you pick people who are not even party members, even though we know as much as them, you know. But I guess that's another issue for another day. But still on the issue of the economy, before we move over to security full time, just the other day, about a day or two ago, the World Bank approved another loan by Nigeria, loan request from Nigeria for to the tune of about $500 million. So I'd like to get your thoughts on, you know, the way forward. Really, we have seen now that the fuel subsidy has been removed. VAT has been, added to diesel. The electricity tariff was supposed to be increased, but it has been, shelved for now. You never know if it will come back. We have the student loan issue, which has
controversy.
Which has led to speculations that perhaps the tuition is about to be introduced across board. Even as we speak, the increments of fees have already begun. But they're saying that when the loan fully kicks into effect, they might even go even further higher. So all that being said, what do you make of the fact that even with all these cuts that are being made, there still seems like there's still really need for loans?
I'll make two contributions to the basic two issues. One, the Student Loan Act, there was formerly a bill. That bill needs a further consultations and reconsideration. That bill is actually goes against the principle of right to education. It's actually not a bill that is practicable. One, I heard that in the bill you have to sort the guarantors like a sitting judge and like a civil servant to a director level, and you must not earn more than 200,000 as your parents. Then the student will have to pay as soon as 2 years after he graduates. In this Nigeria economy, how is that practicable? How is that realizable? So it's not something that can actually. I think that bill itself and the act itself, it was made in serious haste. That is not fix the economy, fix Nigeria first, fix education first before you start thinking of stuff like that, because it will be mismanaged with the way that thing is. If it starts to run, it will be mismanaged.
Just a quick question.
Yes.
You're a lawyer.
Yes.
One of the options for guarantor is a lawyer with over 10 years of experience. Is that easy to come across?
It's no lawyer will stake his neck for that. Me per se, I will not put, even as an activist and a human rights lawyer known, I will not put my pen for anybody. I will not do that, because the consequence of being a guarantor to any loan at all, you take the place of the person who has taken the loan. And if the person is not able to pay, you will be held responsible and taken to court. When the person succeeds, your property might be confiscated or your account might be attached. So why will you suffer for something you don't enjoy the benefit? Why will you suffer? So it's even ethically, I don't think it's right for a lawyer to stand as guarantor for loan. So it's not a practicable act that can actually work. It needs further. The solution to that, it should be sent back to the National Assembly so that they can look at some other aspect and see how they can modify that act and bring in some and redress some very obvious lacuna and redress some other thing. And more importantly, that act, as you have spoken on it, they seems not to be in tandem. They seems not to welcome the idea at all. So if that is it, that means you are actually provoking them. And they might choose to take other steps. So the government should be wise enough to look at that act again and see how they can make heavy modifications. It's a good idea, but the whole process is faulty. The issue as to fuel subsidy, the same mistake again. You remove fuel subsidy, there is no caution, there is no palliative, there is no people for the ordinary Nigeria. There is no, as somebody was proposed, tariffs are still there. There are no tax holidays. There are no better salaries. Where are we going from here? Where are we going from here? I really commend the Tinubu administration, but they should be careful in the haste of making some of these decisions. They can do better than this. They can do better than this. They don't just rush and make decisions that will have a down economic effect on Nigeria. The price of petrol, where before I used to use 8,000, I come here, I go back, I check 1 or 2 places. Now it's no longer the case again. It has to be more. I have to do more for, and when you know that the income that's coming in is almost the same former income that is coming, nothing has changed. So we are in a dilemma. We are in a dilemma. The implementation of the fuel subsidy was done in a haste, without no adequate palliative to resolve a lot of our problem. They would have taken it a little bit more as the days are progressing in administration, where they would have put in more palliatives. So these are the things I'm begging this administration. They should reconsider some of these decisions they make in haste. They might have good plan for it. They might have a very superior motive for it. But the implementation process if it's done in a haste, will amount to nothing being done. And the down effect of these things, that the ordinary people and every Nigerian is suffering from the effect of these things, while the bourgeois, the elites, those ones who are holding sensitive position, they don't feel the impact of some of these things. So please, the president should be sensitive enough to consider the well-being, and as he said, allow the poor breathe. Allow them breathe.
It's interesting, you know, really, that how that clip became viral, and then we saw the opposite. So, but do you think we missed an opportunity in France during the summit? We saw, I think, Zambia was able to, you know, negotiate some sort of debt restructuring and so on at that event. Interestingly, our president attended. He was there at the opening ceremony and at the closing ceremony, but he actually did not speak. So I wonder, do you think perhaps this was an opportunity to, because now that they've approved another $500 million loan request, you start to wonder, again, do we really have to pay all of this? I remember during the Obasanjo time, it wasn't all the debts that we accrued that we ended up paying. There were some that were forgiven through the help of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala and so on. And I wonder, do you think we are missing opportunities to start resolving these things instead of just, you know, looking at it as though the next generation and the ones to come will pay it off?
The issue as to debt balancing, debt repayment should be taken by this administration very seriously. It will have a downturn. If this dollar go to the stage of 1,500, I don't know where we are heading to as a country. It's going to affect us in all rounds of ramification. The thing is, wherever, you know, this thing has to do with foreign policy and alignment, foreign direct alignment, our policy as a country. Whatever the rationale, no explanation was given as to why the president did not address the nations of the world at that conference. I'm not going to fault them for it. I don't think it will even make any more. It would have changed what it was, even if he has delivered the speech. However, we have seen a Tinubu that is actually not so bad. He seems to have his thoughts, and his thinking seems to be a bit correct from what has been happening recently. So, however, I think better consultation beyond going for summit should be made to these international organizations and world leaders to see how some of, and IMF too, some of these policies can be revisited. Like what Obasanjo did. Obasanjo spent a whole lot of time traveling to discuss with some of these agencies and the world leaders to see how debt repayment, debt cancellation can actually. I think this present administration too, I think they should take a clue for that and approach these agencies so that the burden on Nigeria can actually have some. The economic expert will tell you that this thing has a hold on Nigeria. This continuous debt we are accumulating. It has a way of actually stopping Nigeria's economic progression internationally. So they should take it seriously. I'm not an expert in that field, but I feel they should do more than they've not even done anything. They should do more, and they should increase their momentum towards resolving these our debts. More importantly, one of the things I don't like about the last administration is that they were taking loan, and it was not reflecting in the general revenue of Nigeria. That is, you know, the problem with this present the problem with this present government is actually facing is the acceptance by the ordinary Nigeria, a bulk of the not party members, not people who are under political lines. They've not this acceptability, and it's not their fault because every Nigerian mistrusts the APC and this current administration because of what the Shenge they have seen in the last administration. I pray this present administration is able to bring light in the midst of darkness the last APC administration has put us through.
All right, that's fair enough. Before we move over now to security issues, I'll just quickly take this story on the EU's report, which was submitted yesterday on the election. Says impunity, lack of transparency marred the 2023 elections, amongst other issues. Now, interestingly, the Sierra Leone elections have been underway, and I think perhaps almost concluding. There's a stipulation that I wonder what you think about it. Apparently, in Sierra Leone, you need at least 55% of the votes to win. That is to say, if you do not get above that amount, you cannot be declared, just like as we have over here, you need two-thirds and so on. So I wonder, what do you make of that issue? Because our current president, I'm not very sure he had above 30%, or I don't think he got up to 40%. And, you know, people are saying that ideally, if it was a written exam, if you get that number over 100,
that's
yes,
a D.
But now he's the president of the entire country. Yeah. So do you think such, you know, what's the word, modifications in our laws can actually start to benefit the country?
I don't think it's actually the problem with our election. In all fairness, I've been involved in several election petitions, both governorship, National Assembly, Kanu. I think the main problem is electoral reforms and INEC. The way INEC is presently now, they operate like a rogue organization, if not a rogue organization, whereby they just do things anyhow. So the Sierra Leone experience, quite fortunately, is I have friends from that part. I have very good friends. The present President Julius, who from reports I'm hearing is on the verge of winning his seat. He's someone who has done a little bit, and he has brought some stability, and he has drawn the eyes of the world economy and some world powers. It's a very tiny country without not so much, and so it's what they've done so far. I think the elections are not all that free or fair, but to some extent they've been able to achieve some pass mark by people, by observers. So I think our first problem now, we have very serious electoral problem beyond issues of legitimacy as to the elections that were conducted. INEC chairman, the first step should be done if we want a better INEC. If we want a better electoral process, the INEC chairman needs to be relieved of his duty. I don't see him as for someone. I was watching one of the presidential tribunal prosecuting their cases. They played the tape where the INEC chairman said he was going to transmit the result of IREF to the portal real time, and he again did not. Is that if he were in a sane society, that is enough for a sane electoral commissioner to resign from an office. The truth is that leaving him there to continue in office is an insult to the collective senses of intellectuals and experts in different fields. More importantly, one of the problems people are facing now is even after the elections, the contestants, the petitioners who are trying to contest some of these elections, to get these materials from INEC, it's as if you are trying to pass an envelope through a needle. How did we come to this law? Even when you pay, you don't even get these materials. So what is really happening? And the basic provisions as to the Electoral Act, INEC has not even conformed with it. So I think the first thing first is that INEC should be looked into, reform should be made, and look into to get transparency. If this present INEC, they keep conducting elections, then I think we are heading for a not too pleasant situation.
But do you think this is any way possible, given that in his inaugural speech, the president himself said this is the best election Nigeria?
I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that. If he made that, it's quite unfortunate. But I am talking as a stakeholder involved, because INEC chairman has doused the hope of people in the electoral process in Nigeria. And the INEC itself, I don't have confidence in anything INEC is doing. I talk as someone who have seen it from here, has seen it from outside. I don't believe in this present INEC. But I believe if they get us another chairman and reconstitute the board across board, I think we'll have, because the whole thing has to do with, this is an election and people have voted. There have to be legitimacy and acceptability. You don't just conduct election and you tell people to take it like that and go to court. It cannot be done. You are actually telling them that take another leg. No, let it be you meet even the threshold, the little standard expected of you as an electoral empire. The thing is, we cannot continue with this, as I said, continue like this. We need to holistically call for reforms within our electoral system, because the bedrock of a progressive society is a society that conducts a free and fair election. That is the first entrenched principles of democracy anywhere. So we should demand, we are requesting that this present administration look into the issue of electoral reform. The last administration, in documents and in other aspects, they actually tried, but in practicability, they failed us. So we are asking that this president, it doesn't matter whether you are from PDP, you are from Z party. What I'm saying is that let the choice of the people be legitimate. Let them not be, let their expectations of how elections were. What I'm personally talking about it is that I've been inside. I've seen a lot of cases. I've witnessed it in this election tribunal. I don't know how you even have some instances where INEC did not go to some polling units where they were supposed to election, and there are no credible explanations as to that. That is not good.
That's fair enough.
That is disenfranchisement, and it's not fair.
Yeah, you make a great point there, and I think, like you said, there's not been explanation properly. I remember leading up to the election, the Commissioner on Voter Education,
yes,
Professor Okoye,
gave a lot of assurances.
Yes, and
you are no longer seeing them talking.
That is the issue here. You know, he was very open. He was at the station here multiple times, but now, you know, to get him, you know, in the studio is a very Herculean task. But let's talk now a little bit about, or let's move over to security now. You already mentioned Malam Nuhu Ribadu and his appointment. So let's talk about the appointments made and the shuffling we're seeing in the security architecture. What effect do you think this will have? The Chief of Army Staff, Air Staff, Naval, and so on. Particularly, you know, taking into account something that is yet to happen. These persons have not been officially confirmed by the National Assembly. And, you know, you start to wonder, the decisions that are being made now, that are being taken, what impact would they have if these persons are not officially, you know, they've not been vetted?
Come with your question again.
Yeah, I mean, it is, according to the Constitution, the Senate and the House of Rep have to confirm these appointments.
Yes. The ministerial.
Yes.
It's constitutional.
I'm talking about security, the chief of the service chiefs. But we've not seen that confirmation yet because they are on a recess till after the Salah break and so on. But they're already making some serious decisions. I hope I can find some here, but I know that in the Chief of Army Staff has reshuffled officers.
Even the speaker today appointed 34-8.
Yes, so you know, but generally, what do you think this means
for the House of Representatives? I personally trust in the capability, competence, and ability of Tajuddin Abbas. I'm happy to know him from afar, and I've also looked at his pedigree. He's for someone who has passed. Made some bills in the last time, 76 bills, and got some laws up to more than 25 passed. That speaks volume of him as a seasoned lawmaker. So I trust in his competence. I believe they will scrutinize the ministerial list that will be brought by the executive.
No, but I'm talking about the security.
Yes. On the security issue.
The service chiefs.
Yeah, the service chiefs. I think they are taking their time to settle into office. The IGP, the Chief of Army Staff, the Chief of Naval Staff, and every other thing. I think they're actually taking their time to settle into office very well. And we should give them time, in all sincerity. They need time to actually go through the notes from the previous administration and see. But I think this present appointment, it cuts across federal character and national spread. And I believe, looking at the pedigree of persons who have been sent, who have been assigned these tasks, I believe they will deliver.
All right. Well, let's look at some of the reports we've been getting.
Yeah.
We're actually not getting as many reports as we used to in terms of insecurity.
Yes.
But there are still some very shocking ones, particularly in Plateau State, where loads of people are being buried in mass graves after, and so on and so forth. But the issue here is there's almost this attitude, or will I say method, that has been carried over from the previous administration, which is that when these things happen, there is no major reaction by the federal government. And people say, you know, in other climes, if one person dies, you see the press person coming out to talk.
Not everything the federal government should act. I think it is the duty of the state government, after collecting security vote, to safeguard the well-being lives of its people. Even though the Constitution says the FG, the paramount importance should be given to life and security of the people. So I think the state governor, a strong duty behoves on him. So the issue of Plateau is peculiar. And I think it's hard time. Let an holistic security mechanism be infected on Plateau State to safeguard lives and property. And know what is actually the problem. Because we are tired of hearing Plateau. I'm tired of hearing it. I was a young schoolboy, I was hearing it. As a young boy, I was as a school going to university. My co-friends who were coppers some years ago, more than a decade ago, went to Plateau. Stories. We are tired of these things. I think it's hard time. But I sincerely believe the Tinubu administration, I sincerely believe they might look into it. And more importantly, the government of Plateau is a PDP government. They should please look into the matter. This is not it's something that affects them individually. They must look into, if it has to do with some ethnic tolerance issue, find a respite, see discussions, constitute a committee, look into these issues and find a way out of this. There's no negotiation. It's just complication. There's nothing that cannot be discussed and resolved in life. Nothing at all. Nothing. Provided it's not debt. Nothing that cannot be resolved.
Right, that's fair enough. So, but moving forward, or let's talk about the appointments themselves. Do you have any comment on the spread? Or
yeah, the spread was okay. More particularly the IGP. He was a DIG before he was appointed. And more importantly, there seems to be, you saw the celebration that went out in the Nigerian police force, that the former IG, who I don't know why they have to leave him that long, and because I think he didn't meet the yearnings and he didn't bring any reform apart from sacking officers who he caught actually, which is normal and in a sane Nigerian police force. So the police officer celebrated his removal. Then the service chiefs, who I think they are seasoned and they actually know the peculiar problems of the different military formations. I think it's okay. More particularly, a seasoned officer contributing, knowing what he has contributed to the Nigerian security and economic recovery in the person of Nuhu Rubadu. Now, because he's one man, though he has been playing politics of recent, but he's strategic and he knows what generally affects Nigeria. And this is somebody who one time also vied for president. So for him to have that knowledge as to the peculiarities and what is obtainable and what should be done in Nigeria, I think he will achieve so much as an NSA, knowing that he has a background in the police. This is the first indigenous police officer to emerge as an NSA. I think
actually there have been, I think, two.
For my own knowledge, I think okay.
But what do you make of that? Do you think it might affect his relations with the military men?
No, it will not affect. An officer is an officer. No. An officer is an officer. So I think Rubadu will bring the much needed reforms. I know, but more importantly, we are in a dire need of security solutions to our numerous problems in Nigeria. But I sincerely trust in the confidence and ability of Nuhu Rubadu to bring solutions to our security problem.
Right, that's fair enough. Thank you so much for coming on the program. That's all we can take for today, but it's been a pleasure having you. Thank you. All right, that's all we can take for today. It's still a public holiday. The celebrations will continue. I do hope you get back to them, and hope you don't overindulge and you have a good time today and tomorrow. And we continue to preach peace, and sacrifice. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'll leave you now with some reports. See you tomorrow. The Polity reaches you 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. every weekday. See you.